Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. So for those of you who are new, my name is Christiane, otherwise known here as IHeartAirbrush. And today we're going to be talking about a concept that's been a little bit tough for a lot of people who are going into airbrush makeup and who are already using airbrush makeup currently, and that is concealing. So concealing with airbrush makeup can be a little bit tricky. So today I'm going to go ahead and show you how I conceal using airbrush makeup and give you a good insight about the fundamentals and what you need to go ahead and start concealing with airbrush makeup yourself. So if you are interested in learning how to conceal using an airbrush, then please keep on watching. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to conceal using airbrush makeup, or how I personally conceal using airbrush makeup. There are many different ways to do it, different products that you can do it with. Me, I like to stick to Dinair and their Neutralize and Camouflage line. I find that that works the best for me. If you've been following me for a long time, you probably know that I did use the Extreme line for a good amount of time to conceal my blemishes. But over time, I found that that was a little bit more than what I needed. And of course, you know, it's not really recommended for use on the face. It can be used, but you know, it's not really recommended for that. So I did go ahead and transition back over to the Neutralize and Camouflage line, and I've kind of stayed there ever since. And that line is really great. The great thing about that line is that it goes on super thin and super fine, yet those thin layers can be buildable all the way to an opaque coverage very quickly. And it's also quick setting in between layers. So yes, it sets on contact as soon as you spray it down. The key with this line is to make sure that you're spraying extremely lightly. You want to be super light on your lever. You want to make sure that the spray on your airbrush is super fine. So if you're starting to see large pixels around, that does mean that you need to maintain your airbrush a little bit. And there is a link to my maintenance video in the description box below. Just go ahead and run through that and make sure that you know the difference between a fine spray and a not fine spray. And I did go ahead and give you a little peek about what the spray should look like in my air shadow how-to updated version, which I will link in the description box below. So if you want to really see what a fine spray should look like, you know, just refer to those videos. Okay, so when I'm using the Neutralize and Camouflage line, I like to stick to two shades. I use a mixture of Honey Beige and Olive Beige. Honey Beige is my base foundation shade. It's the shade that I use for my foundation when I'm pretty like average with my skin throughout the year. If I'm a little bit more tan, I like to mix in a little bit of dark almond or nutmeg depending on how tan I am or the depth of my tan. And Olive Beige is a lighter shade in comparison to the Honey Beige within the same family. So I like to go ahead and mix a little bit of this into this just to make it nice and light so that when I do conceal, things blend seamlessly and it's not sticking out through my foundation. Now when you're concealing with airbrush makeup and you're applying foundation over it, you do have to be mindful about what you're putting underneath, because airbrush makeup essentially gives you a nice layer on the top of your skin. So you just want to make sure that you're not layering too much underneath the airbrush makeup, because it will be seen through, okay? It goes on in pixels, so there will be little gaps. So using color correctors like green, orange, purple, and all of that kind of stuff will be a lot more difficult to hide or conceal the fact that you use them if you're not familiar with the way airbrush works and how it lays down on the skin. So you definitely want to make sure that you're using it only to diffuse the imperfection, not to completely cover it the way that you see traditional makeup artists or people using traditional makeup using color correctors. Okay, it's not the same when you use it with airbrush makeup. And I'll do another video on that. I did have a video on how I use color correctors. It's very dated. I believe I did that in 2014 or 2013, one of those. But I will have an updated version because, of course, as time progressed, I've been practicing, I've been perfecting my craft and learning more about airbrush makeup. I have more to share with you. So we'll go ahead and do an update video on that when the time comes. But for now, let's get back to the Neutralize and Camouflage line. So you want to make sure that your bottles are shaken up really well. And today I'm going to be using the Dinair Personal Pro because that's the one that I like to keep with me. And I like to take a 1-to-1 ratio of my base foundation shade and the lighter shade. If you want it to be even lighter, because a lot of people like that really bright under eye area, you can take more of the lighter shade and less of the base shade, or you can just use a lighter shade in general if you don't mix like I do. So I'm just going to take 2 drops of Honey Beige, and I'm going to take 2 drops of Olive Beige, and 4 drops is usually enough to conceal my full face. Really, with airbrush makeup, you don't have to use a lot, especially with Dinair airbrush makeup. You don't have to use a lot of product because a little bit really truly does go a long way. And I've showed this in some of my future videos, even using other brands as well. A little bit goes a very long way. So So when I start to conceal the face, I like to start with my under eye area, and I'll just go ahead and kind of pull the skin a little bit taut, and I'll get in really close. And I'm going to zoom you in right now so that you can go ahead and see exactly how the product is laying down. Okay, so now that I'm up close and personal, I just want to go ahead and show you how the product lays down. So we're just going to go ahead and pull the skin taut here again, and staying really light on the lever, super light, similar to how light you would be when you're applying air shadow. You want to be even lighter, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and just lightly start adding some pigment to the under eye area where I'm the darkest here, and you can already see it starting to lay down in a really fine mist just by lightly pulling back on the lever. Okay, a well-maintained airbrush doesn't require you to pull far back on the lever to release pigment, okay? And you never really want to pull that far back on the lever because you want to work in light layers when you're using airbrush makeup. Okay, that's how it differentiates itself from traditional makeup application. So as you can see, this side right here is concealed and this side is not. You can see that there's pigment built here, okay, and there's no pigment here in the darkest area of my under eye, okay? So once again, let me show you with my hand there. You just want to lightly pull back on the lever. Really small amounts of pigments at a time. Move around. Always keep your movement. Distance, I'm about 2 inches away. You can get as close to 1 inch, but remember, the closer you get, the smaller the funnel will be on the airbrush tip, which means the more concentrated your spray is going to be instead of diffused out. And when you are doing airbrush makeup, you really want the spray to be diffused out. That way everything blends seamlessly and you don't have any lines of demarcation. Okay, so that's why I recommend 2 inches away. And I'll show you spot concealing where you do have to get up closer in a second, but for the under eye area, about 2 inches away would be best. Now to do the other eye. Light bits on the layer there. You can see the coverage building. Over here. Just really light. Super light. This is where I'm at. This is where I live right now when I'm concealing. Okay. Moving to distribute the blend. And there we go. Nice, beautifully concealed. Alright, so as you can see, I still have a good amount of product left in there, so I'm going to go ahead and go in and conceal the rest of my face. So starting with like blemishes, when you're targeting blemishes with airbrush makeup, you want to be about 1 inch away. Okay, I say 1 inch. Like I said, if you get too close, it's going to give you too much of a concentrated spray. You want to be far enough to ensure that you're going to get some form of blend so that when you do pull out, everything blends seamlessly, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and focus in right here on this blemish here, or you know, let's focus on this one because this one is a little bit darker. So I'm going to get about 1 inch away and notice my finger on my lever here. Now on my skin you can see where the air is hitting. You see that little divot there? I'm not pulling back on my lever so that I could expose that divot. That's where the air is hitting my face. That's where the makeup is going to land. So you want to make sure that the makeup is going to land in the appropriate spot by getting super close and then pulling away to your desired distance. Okay, so now that I know where the makeup is going to land, I'm just going to lightly tug back on my lever there, and as you can see, the pigment starts to disperse very lightly. Okay, now if you do notice a lag, there we go. If you do notice a lag, all you have to do is stop for a second, take a tissue, spurt it out, pull your lever about halfway back just to unblock the pathway there, and then go back in. And you should get more distribution. Okay, now I don't usually like to cover my freckles up, but for the sake of showing concealing, I'm gonna do that for you. Okay? Now as you can see, I've concealed this, but you can kind of still see it a little bit. That's where you want to stop, okay? You don't want to cover the blemish completely because then you run the risk of seeing it through the foundation. Airbrush makeup goes on in lots of layers. So here I have my layer of concealing, then I'm going to go in with my blush, which is going to be another layer, then I'm going to go in with contour, that's another layer. If you bronze, that's another layer, and then I'm going to go in with about 2 to 3 layers of foundation. So you don't want to apply too much on the underside because you're going to be layering so much on top already. Okay, so now that I have it nicely concealed and everything, just for good measure, I'm just going to go ahead and pull further back away, maybe about 4 inches, and just kind of blend that area, just to make sure that the color is all the same. Okay, now the same thing applies when you're doing the redness around the nose area. The only difference with that is that you have to be mindful of the creases around the nostril because you will get a lot of creasing if you don't stay light in that area. So when I airbrush that redness around, I like to just get in maybe about 2 inches away, open up the spray enough, and then just light pulls back on my lever like so. Okay, and I just want to apply enough there just to diffuse the redness, because like I said, there's going to be more layers that we're going to be applying around the nostril area. Okay, and then if you need more coverage afterwards, just go in after your foundation and add more coverage, just slightly as you need it. Okay, it's better to apply less and add some later than apply too much and then like you're pretty much stuck at the end of your routine if you apply too much, because getting rid of it's going to be the challenge, right? So then the other side here, I'm keeping my distance, as you can see. Light pulls back on the lever. Remember, if you do notice a little bit of lag, just spray on the tissue, pulling the lever back a little bit harder. There we go. Okay, I even went a little too heavy here because I could see it. But don't worry, it'll be diffused out when I do apply my foundation over it. And then let's go ahead and diffuse this little baby out right here. So I like to get in real close, kind of check where my air is going to be hitting my face, pull out a little bit further, maybe about 1 inch this time, because this is a bigger spot. And then I'm just going to lightly pull back on my lever, moving little circular motions to get that fill. Okay. And you can watch it starting to disappear, diffuse out. Okay, now I'm getting further away. I'm about 2 inches there, covering that whole area. Okay, we're going to diffuse this one just a little bit. It's not as dark as the other ones. We're just going to lightly spray as I'm rocking the area. There you go, nice and diffused. Okay, and then for the chin, usually we have redness, discoloration, hyperpigmentation if you're like me. And what I like to do is just kind of hone in on the hyperpigmentation. Okay, and then go out to blend for the redness. Okay, and then I have darkness here. So I'm just going to stay further out. As you can see, I'm about 3-4 inches back. And then just kind of diffuse out some of that darkness by moving my airbrush, keeping my distance, and being light on my lever. My jawline is my toughest area, so I like to just add a layer around my jawline there. That way my foundation doesn't have to work as hard to cover up. And like I said before, the Neutralize and Camouflage line is like super thin layers, so it's really good to go ahead and utilize that line and then go ahead and apply your foundation after. So this is the concealed face, girl. Okay, let's zoom out. I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup and then we'll go ahead and discuss. Alright, so now that my makeup is all done and complete, you can see that my blemishes are gone. Okay, there you go. Like I said, lightly covering before, just enough to diffuse it enough so that when you add those extra layers, it completely blocks it out. That is the key to concealing with airbrush makeup, to correcting with airbrush makeup, and really getting the look that you want to do, bringing your best you forward. So let's go back on the key points. Once again, you're going to be finding these points throughout all of my how-to videos from here on out. So the 3 fundamentals that I want you to take from this video and all of my other how-to videos is simple. Distance, lever control, and movement. Okay, those 3 things are the fundamentals to airbrush application, which if you grasp those concepts, that you can do anything your heart desires with an airbrush. Okay, so long as you grasp those concepts, and the amounts will differ and vary between different aspects of what you're trying to do. As far as distance and lever control when you're concealing is different from distance and lever control when you are applying airbrush eyeshadow to liner to foundation. So once you grasp those 3 concepts and you apply them to the different areas, you'll start to get a really good understanding of what you need to execute the area flawlessly. So hopefully that will help you in your journey to conceal using airbrush makeup. Remember to stay light, diffuse it out, don't block it out in the beginning, because the rest of the layers will go ahead and finish the job for you. If you find that you do still need coverage afterwards, apply everything you know about concealing prior to your foundation, after with your foundation. That will go and help diffuse any leftover or residual spots or blemishes that you really don't want to be seen out in a nice enough way that it won't ruin the overall makeup less is more. Always go less because you can add some even at the end, okay? Alright, so that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you do still have any questions, concerns, or comments, please put them in the comment box below. That way we can interact. As I'm teaching you things, you guys always have really great things to teach me too. And even though you're watching this video probably to push yourself along your airbrush journey, I'm sharing with you what I know, and I'm also still moving forward in my airbrush journey. I have a craving and desire to learn everything I can about airbrush makeup, and I also have a desire to share all that I've learned about airbrush makeup. So as I teach you, you teach me too, and I really appreciate you guys being here and watching these videos and commenting down below and interacting. So thank you so much for that. Don't forget to thumbs up this video, give it a big like if you found it helpful or just entertaining, and remember to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button is that big red button right above or below the description bar. I'm not sure right now, but it's next to the description bar, and you just want to go ahead and hit that button and subscribe to my channel. And if you choose to subscribe to the channel, or if you're already subscribed, make sure you hit that little bell icon right next to the red subscribe button and turn on your notifications. That way you get the quickest updates anytime I upload a video. And as always, thank you so much, and I really hope to see you all in my next one. Bye!